the third jack I'm installing. This is right rear jack. I started in the easiest place, which was the front right, and things got progressively more difficult as we go along. So it's always best to start in the easiest place to get a hang of things and then work into the difficult areas afterwards. Get more of a routine going. You gotta remove that ground cable, clean the surface. Those are 2 body mount bolts that I'm gonna have to use on this particular jack. They're a 1/2 inch. I actually think they're metric, which is I think they're 14 mil. So another thing, you go between metric and standard bolts, very annoying when you're working on vehicles. Now, I didn't want to cut away any of the supports. I think it's a bad idea to be chopping away at the frame or supports unnecessarily. Don't ever chop away at a frame. Bad idea. So I've come up with a shim plate that I cut to fit in there. 3/16 shim plate, match the thickness of the body mount frame. These Bessie clamps are pretty handy. I've tried different brands. I like the Bessie ones, and they come in different duties. They can be light or heavy. These are the mid-range ones. Irwin clamps are pretty good too. If I didn't get Bessie's, I'd get Irwin. Haven't had luck with the other brands. So now I got to go through the shim plate, then hit the frame. And you'll see where I get in trouble here in a second. You can see the chuck is going to hit the flange of the C-channel. So I won't be able to go all the way through, which is going to make this installation a little more complex. And it explains why it takes so long to do a simple thing like put jacks on. You can see jacks moving up because the chuck is hitting the flange, so that's all I can do with the mag drill. So I'll finish it off with the hand drill, mark all my holes on the shim plate. I know if you're good at layout, you could have just laid out all the holes and marked center and stuff, but that's a lot of work too. Not any easier than using the templates that I have. More things could go wrong in your measurements. Unlikely that you'll get all your holes perfect on a layout. Some guys are good at it, do it all the time. They'll nail it every time, but if you're not practicing that, you're not going to be that accurate. So I finished the hole with the mag drill, put my shim plate back in, . Now's the tough part. Because I've taken it down and put it back up, I'm not in exactly the same place I was. So I'll tighten the shim plate against there, up into place. And make sure my holes are lined up properly. Before I finish drilling with the mag drill. It's a patience thing. I mean, the minute you start saying good enough, everything gets sloppier. Just take your time to do it right. Nail everything. Makes life a lot better in the long run. It's not so much that got the job done quickly. It's better to have the job done slowly and properly. Another thing, a reason that I put the jacks where I put them and why I put them in first is the jacks need to go where they need to go. And any other components for the RV motorhome, it's not an RV, for the motorhome, can be moved around or adjusted in dimensions or all kinds of things. But the jacks need to go where the jacks need to go. So you wouldn't want to put them in last. So that's why I'm kind of working backwards. Mostly you would want to get moved into your motorhome and then add all of the bells and whistles later, but then you didn't leave room for your jacks, and you find out you have a whole bunch of complicated things to do to get your jacks in. And I knew I wanted jacks. If it tragically doesn't work afterwards, I can always move them around, but it will probably be more complicated. But everything should work out fine here. Someday I'll get to test it. It's quite a workout nonetheless. That mag drill's 27 pounds, so it's a bit of a workout. I might set the mag in it a dozen times till I get it exactly where I want it. There we go. All my holes are drilled. Now I'm going to have to modify the jack to fit in the hole. So there's that flange I'm marking. I need to go up 2 inches inside the floor. The floor is made of C-channels, interlocking C-channels about 3 inches wide and run all the way across. It's really strong, and you can put holes in it where you need to. At the front there wasn't any floor above where I was installing the jack, so I didn't have to deal with that, but now I do. And I'm marking the holes that I need to be making bigger, because the bolt holes for those ones are a larger bolt, because I'll be using the existing holes at the top on the body mounts. And here I get to use the drill and beat myself up a bit. The reason I'm drilling holes here is I know where I need to cut with the grinder, zippy cut, and I don't want a crack to develop in the body mount after cutting out some of the steel. So drilling the round hole is a stop where cracks will not go beyond the hole I've drilled. Here's the part where I get beat up again. I'm drilling on an angle in a corner. The bit likes to bind in those conditions. Here's where you want to be careful. Kind of thing that'll slap you in the face. There is a handle you can put on the drill for extra safety, for grip holding the drill. But the handle, it is adjustable. You can put it where you need it. But it's in the way most of the time, and they usually just collect a lot of dust in the toolbox. I have it somewhere. I don't think I've ever had it on the drill. So I'm grinding between the holes without going beyond the holes. And my grinding disc's a little big, so I can't remove all the material. But it will make enough of a cut that I can break away the piece. And I'm cutting through steel and aluminum here. Aluminum tends to gum up your cutting discs. So there's a special type of disc for aluminum. But when you're cutting through both of them, you're kind of limited to what you can do. I'm trying to get in there deep, cut away as much as possible. You can see I'm scarring up some of the frame. Grinders are great, zippy cuts are great, but they don't get into every little nook and cranny you want to get into. Here's where a smaller grinder would have came in handy. This is a 5.5 inch. The next size down, I could have gotten in a little deeper and closer, made longer cuts. Could have also used a sawzall, which I do have, to finish the cuts if I really wanted a finished looking job. If it was, this is very light steel, so it doesn't take much to break it away once you got most of the material away. Not something you could pull off with half-inch plate. I'd have to do better cuts with half-inch plate for sure. I'm still hitting another ridge up inside the floor. You may have noticed how I took off some of the jack supports at the top to get it up and in there. The flange on the jack itself. I think I took 2 inches off each side. I think I spent most of the day doing this, close to 8 hours. I know this is like a 15-minute video, but it takes time to do it right. And if you do it wrong, you have to deal with it forever. I suppose if you're selling it, you don't care. A lot of people don't. They just want it to get out the door and look good while it goes out the door, and then if it doesn't work in the long term, they don't care. And there we go. Wrapping up jack number 3. Tedious, monotonous, time-consuming, but as good as it gets in the end. Not embarrassed by that work. Half-inch bolts at the top. I think they're actually 14 mil. Didn't damage anything. Didn't compromise the integrity of the frame, so it's all good.